What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing something very exciting. I'm going to be watching the Manosphere documentary. As a girly, as I'm going to be watching this, I will give y'all some live commentary. So let's get into the video. Okay, so I just finished watching the first guy. I'll give them stage names. Isn't that fun? Okay, so the first stage name is gonna be the British bloke, because he is British and he's a bloke. So first of all, for a little context, the opening scenes are basically the guys that are featured in the documentary talking about how Louis, who made the documentary, how they already filmed with Louis, but now after they filmed, they are like, wait, who is this guy in the first place? And then they find out what type of work he does, and he's like, oh my God, is he gonna make a hit piece on us? And you know, that's the dumbest thing I've heard, because why are you filming with someone that you don't know? Where's the stranger danger? Where's any sense of precaution? If someone were to ask me, oh, do you want to film? I would Google them. I'm Googling them, hanging out with me all day. I'm inviting this person in my home. I want to know who I'm inviting. And I don't know if it's because they're men. I don't know. I don't want to make this a woman and man thing, but I could never have someone ask me to film me for 2 days and just be like, oh yeah, come to my house. Are you kidding? That is stranger danger, okay? As a woman, I'm not having it. So the first guy that we see is the British bloke. So I am gonna kind of be petty with a few things that he said because it's just so ironic. Louis, you know, is invited to his home. He comes inside, they do a meeting or whatever. And then Louis asks the British bloke, okay, what do you do? And he, word for word, I am reading this from the subtitles, guys. But he said, I teach boys how to be effing boys. Look, I know I'm being petty, but there's two things that I was thinking of. First of all, so you're not teaching them to be men, you're teaching them to be boys. And second of all, to be effing boys, like, what are you trying to teach? Like, are you trying to give some tips and tricks? Like, what's going on, if you'll catch what I'm trying to say? But that's just me being petty. But then Louis goes like, oh, okay, so what do you think about me? And then he, the British bloke, again, I am reading this word for word from a picture I took of my screen. You know, he was kind of like checking out Louis after he asked the question, like, what do you think of me? And then the British bloke was like, well, I just sort of checked your stature out. Is something happening? Like, do we need to leave y'all alone? Well, I won't leave you alone, Louis. You know, so that's just something that I thought was very funny. This guy is not helping himself. This is so funny and petty, but you know, this is not petty because I do this too. So I'm kind of calling myself out too. But there was a part where he walked next to a mirror and he was literally staring himself down in the mirror. I've been there. I do that all the time. I do that with mirrors, windows. Windows? Y'all sleeping on windows for me. Windows can be your mirrors. Open your eyes, see the truth. Louis and the British bloke, they filmed together for 2 days. After the first day, he posts on social media. And in the background, you can see Louis. But people online are like, be careful with him. Like, he's gonna make a hit piece on you, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day, Louis goes over to the British bloke's house. And you know, the energy is kind of off. And then as the day goes on, as a viewer, we get the impression that the British bloke was not really around that day, even though they had plans to hang out together. So only at night, the British bloke is like, hey, I'm so sorry, I got called. I have to go to Dubai tomorrow. And then he shakes his hand and like leaves. It was kind of an abrupt ending to that segment. I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but I do feel like if you're gonna be about that life, you know, talking about, you know, how to be men, if you have an issue, address the issue. If you have a problem, say you have a problem. I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird. Let's continue watching. Well, let me continue watching and I'll be right back. Okay, we've just been introduced to the second dude, and this dude I'm gonna be calling the suit guy. He comes out, he walks out, he has a Lamborghini, and I don't know what, but immediately he goes, that car right there is not success. And I'm not sure if they're talking about Louis' car, the production car, but who goes unprompted talking about somebody's car not being success? What? That is so crazy to me, because what do you mean? Success isn't a car. Success literally isn't a car. Success is me. That's so unprovoked. Just crazy to me. So then he goes on to talk about his family. And then Louis asks him, oh, you know, how many kids do you have? And you know what the suit guy says? The suit guy says, oh, I've got some. That is a crazy answer to how many kids do you have? How many kids do you have? Oh, I have some. What? 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 That boggles my mind. Like, what do you mean you have some kids? Are they not your kids? You just have some other person's kids. I don't know. That was weird to me. And then Louis goes to ask about his relationship status. And he's like, oh, are you monogamous? And he's like, it's one-sided monogamy. The math is not mathing. He can be non-monogamous, but she can't be talking to other guys. I don't feel like that's one-sided monogamy. That's polyamory. One-sided monogamy. Mono literally means one, right? I mean, maybe he said mono square. One person is with one person. He basically said, okay, I see what he's putting down. He's basically saying, okay, one person in our relationship is with only one person. That's it. And the other person is with many people. And then Louis goes on to say, oh, so explain that to me. Like, what is one-sided monogamy? And then the suit guy immediately he doesn't get defensive, but he's like, oh, you're trying to set me up? Louis is asking you a question about something that you mentioned. Do you feel set up? Because you are setting yourself up because you realize it's stupid? If I were to drop a term and someone were to ask me, oh yeah, what is that? I wouldn't be like, oh, you're setting me up. How can that person be setting me up if I get to explain what it is? There's no setup. Louis is asking an open-ended question. Just what is it? And you're like, oh my God, he's setting me up. Tell me your idea doesn't have any backbone without telling me your idea doesn't have any backbone. I'm so excited about the next person on. I can't wait. This just keeps getting worse and worse. It's generally so bad that all I can do is laugh. Okay, so we meet the third character. Let's call him the policeman. He's saying that women don't know what they want and that men know better what women want. I don't know. I just don't know how you can believe that because it's treating women like children. Like women cannot speak for themselves. And you know what's so ironic? So again, he's talking about one-sided monogamy and then his girlfriend comes and Louis is also kind of asking about their relationship. And you can visibly see she is kind of like awkward and like, she's like, I don't know. Is that not so ironic? After the police guy had a whole spiel about how he knows women better than they know themselves. Well, apparently you don't because she's clearly telling you, I don't know. She's not saying a resounding yes. She's not telling the police guy, that's exactly what I wanted. You know me so well. You know me better than I know myself. I didn't know that I wanted to be in a relationship where my man has multiple wives. Thank you so much for letting me know. She didn't say that. There's also this part where Louis asks to see his room. I feel like sometimes there's like flirting undertones and the policeman is like, oh no, it's not cleaned up. But when my girlfriend comes and she cleans everything up, you can go see the room. I'm like, sir, you are a grown man. You can't clean your own room? And then to cut the conversation short, after Louis was asking about the multiple wives thing, he gives his dog to his girlfriend and he's like, can you go do something? So as she walks away, says after her, oh yeah, can you clean up my room real quick? Excuse me. This woman just came back from wherever she was doing. She's coming home to a grown man-child that needs his room cleaned by you. He was waiting all day just for you to come home and then have to clean his room. I can always try to see things from both sides, right? And if you were in a relationship where maybe one person is the main breadwinner and the other person is more so like the homemaker, so to say, I totally think that's okay. Feminism and all that stuff is about having the choice. However, my biggest issue is with the way he was talking to her. Have some human decency when talking to your girlfriend. Anyways, I just watched 30 minutes. I still have an hour to go. It's so interesting, but like every time I'm like, what the hell is this? Okay, I forgot to add a little bit about the suit guy. But what I forgot to mention is that two followers of him came up to Louis and the suit guy when they were filming and they're like, oh my God, I love your content, blah, blah. And then Louis is like, what do you get from his content to his two followers, right? And the suit guys, they start talking about how as men, you're born with no value, but then in life you create value. And somehow to me, that's so sad. That is so sad. Because I'm thinking of my baby brother. He's not a baby anymore, by the way. And he has a lot of value to me. Like, I love that boy. And they say that women are born with value. So literally one of the two fans says, as men, we're meant to suffer. We're not meant to be happy. but you're not meant to suffer. And then they go on to say that they don't believe in depression. And I'm just like, okay, so you don't believe in depression, but you believe men should always suffer. I feel like something there is not right. I feel like someone might need to talk to somebody about how they're feeling. No one is meant to suffer. I don't want anyone to believe, because again, I'm just thinking of my brothers, I'm thinking of like the good people, men I actually like. But I wouldn't want them to think that they have to suffer. As a human being, I inherently have value. Just because I'm a person, I have value. Obviously, I can't respond to everything, so don't let this discourage you from watching the actual thing on Netflix, because it's so crazy. It's so crazy. But we're back with the policeman, and he has a podcast. Louis is invited to come on the podcast. Before Louis actually goes on the policeman's podcast, he goes backstage and he goes to talk to a girl who works for the podcast. So Louis is like, oh, what you doing? And they're just talking. Then the policeman notices how Louis is gone. Like, Louis is not around no more. And then he's texting the girl Louis is interviewing, and the girl immediately just changes her tone and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, like I can't answer any more questions. And then we also see footage of the policeman talking to somebody saying, tell her to go downstairs and to stay there. And then Louis is like, ooh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get you in trouble. And she's like, no, it's fine. So that's crazy. Again, like it's just giving control. It's giving, I don't have my things in order. It's giving, I have things to hide. It's literally giving everything opposite of I stand on business and all my ducks are in a row. Because if all your ducks truly were in a row, there wouldn't be anything that you have to hide. You wouldn't have to put people in the basements and keep them hidden there. That's literally the opposite of having all your ducks in order. Louis goes on the show, and again, it's a very misogynistic show. And then Louis calls them out for never having been married, but acting like they know what they're talking about. And I can see Policeman just side-eyeing this dude. And I think Policeman is really done with Louis. And I feel like that's also something that's just not standing on business, because apparently Louis really had to convince the policeman to film again after the awkward conversation with the whole girlfriend situation. If you really are that alpha, tell Louis, no, I don't want to film. What's he gonna do? Louis is just a guy. I mean, I like Louis. If you really don't want to film, don't film. You can say no. You know best what you want, right? Or you should know best what you want. So say no. Because again, it's these small actions that I feel like are just very inconsistent with what they're trying to preach. What the hell did I just watch? I can't believe what I just watched. There was a very shocking part in there that I don't think I can even talk about. Again, I highly recommend you to watch the documentary. But we're back with the British bloke. And it's funny because if you recall, Louis was gonna do a documentary with him or a film day, right? I think they had 2 film days planned originally. The first film day, they filmed together. The next day, he's a little bit standoffish. Then after some time, after an unspecified amount of time, they're filming again. The British bloke has seen how Louis got him attention. It was like, wait, is there going to be a documentary? So the British bloke decides to film with Louis once again. The British bloke is very transparent. This British bloke has straight up said, I do it for attention. I do it for money. I do it for attention. I monetize my fame. He has said all those things straight up. And again, that's the bare minimum, but he is explicitly telling people that he's doing this for money, and people are still giving him more money. So we're back with the suit guy. The suit guy actually brings us to his family home. We get introduced to his wife, which, spoiler alert, is not his wife by the state. They are not legally married. And then Louis, rightfully so, says, that seems a bit risky for you. She says, it does seem more risky to me, but I don't feel like I'm at risk. Isn't that the whole point of risk, though? You don't feel like you're at risk until something happens to you. I don't know what about that, but that pissed me off so badly. The suit guy literally says, but Louis, let's say it ended right now. Let's say it ended tomorrow. I would still look at it as successful. Obviously, if you have the money, you can look back at it if it were to end tomorrow and you're not married. Be like, oh yeah, that was beautiful. That was a nice period of my life. And you just take all your money and you go on with your life. What does she have? What would she have? it's not about you. The risk isn't on your side. So whatever you just said, it's invalid. And you didn't address the actual issue. I don't know what happens in case of divorce, but I can pretty much tell you that you're probably not entitled to much. So Louis asks, do you miss working at all? And she says, I love my job, but I don't miss having to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and put on scrubs and go to a hospital and clock in and like have to work for somebody else. But the gag is, babe, you're working for someone else and you're not getting paid for it. If you're lucky, he will take care of the mother of his children, regardless of what might have happened between you. But you never know. I always hear that people change when divorce is there, or apparently not divorce, but like when they break up. You don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. Don't be naive. I feel like she is literally working for someone else, but without any of the benefits. She only has temporary benefits. I'm not sure if she's building up a pension. I'm not sure if she has a savings account. I'm not sure if she's building up some equity for herself. If she's, the mother, taking care of the house, taking care of everything, that's a lot of work, which she properly needs to be compensated for in case things turn south. Okay, I have 5 minutes left of this documentary. Can you tell I'm getting tired? We had a conversation with the British bloke again, and this part was quite unsettling. There were a few parts where Louis would film with him, but they were live streaming the whole time. Not Louis, of course, but the British bloke and his team. And I think we live in such crazy times. This whole live streaming thing, like live streaming seems fun, sure, but to live stream the whole day, go out, talk to strangers on stream, you have people on streams telling you what to do. That all is just so crazy to me. What is everyone doing it for? Money. It's all about money. And it's very funny because in the last part of the documentary with the British bloke, and the British bloke is basically saying, whenever young kids come up to me when they're 13, 14, 15, I tell them, why are you watching my content? My content is not for you. And I find that very interesting because when I think of that type of content, who else is watching that if it's not 13, 14, 15-year-old boys? But I cannot imagine someone, let's say, who actually has a full-time job, or someone who actually goes to work and study, or someone who just actually has things to do in their life, constantly be watching these daily streams of people. Or are men down that bad? Like, is it that bad? And I really hope it's not grown men watching that type of content, because what are you doing in your life that you can watch people live stream for days? And also to think that what he's doing in those live streams is okay. It's really giving someone who has yet to develop their prefrontal cortex. Is that what it's called? But let's watch the last 5 minutes. And that's a wrap. I just finished the documentary. It was really good. I really liked it. But I've been watching Abba and Preach for years now, and they also react a lot to red pill stuff. So I definitely knew the characters. I knew some of the rhetoric. I knew some of the ideas. So I didn't really go into depth about that as much. Let's talk about what this documentary specifically has shown me. Some people do it for attention. I learned that they are nowhere near alpha. They are not assertive. They are not dominant. They don't even seem confident. They don't even seem self-secured. What I also noticed was a lot of flip-flapping back and forth of like, oh, I want to film, I don't want to film, I want to film, I don't want to film, which again just brings me back to that assertiveness. There's none of that. It doesn't seem like they have an actual backbone. What was it like watching as a woman? Well, it was funny. It's not funny, but it's so crazy that it kind of becomes funny. I like you, Louis. You did great. And yeah, peace. We need it.